Sergeant and Mr. Smith, you're gonna love this house.
Bunk beds in a closet?
There's no field manual for finding the right home. But when you do, USAA Homeowners Insurance can help protect it the right way. Restrictions apply.
Hey, y'all, Darius Rucker here. You know, a lot of people ask me, what inspires your music? And one of the big things is a strong sense of place. That's why I love my home state of South Carolina and want to share the awesome things it has to offer. From the beautiful mountains down to the sunny coast, it's got it all. Not to mention two of my personal favorites, great golf and amazing food. Come see why I love this place. Visit discoversouthcarolina.com.
No breaks. No breaks. No fear. No fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
After a 15-year wait, the British Grand Prix at Cardiff delivered a British winner.
You know, to be honest, it wasn't probably the most impressive race of my life, but it's one I'm going to remember forever. So, yeah, it's been a pretty crazy night.
Absolutely, one to remember for Dan Bewley at Cardiff last Saturday, winning the British Speedway Grand Prix. Now, somebody who knows Dan Bewley pretty well and, of course, won a gold medal in the Speedway of Nations last year is the Great Britain team manager Simon Stead, and he's our guest throughout this episode. We're going to have a long chat about all sorts of stuff because we haven't got too many interviews this week, so it's me and Steady for quite a bit of it this week, but lots to cover, not least the Grand Prix, but also SGP 2, which saw great performances from Leon Flint, Tom Brennan, Drew Kemp, Jason Edwards. All got their chance to ride the Principality Stadium as well. The Premiership Pairs is back on Thursday, so looking ahead to that, Sheffield is the host venue, so who better than Simon Stead to preview that? And also big team change in the Sheffield lineup. Louis Kerr comes into the side. We'll be discussing that move with Craig Cook making way, and also just generally discussing one or two other topics of the moment here on No Breaks, No Fear, the official British Speedway podcast.
No breaks, no fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
So loads to get through, and well, let's welcome our guest then. Been trying to get him on for quite a while, but with the fact that Sheffield aren't riding on a Monday night because there was no Premiership fixtures this week for one thing or another, it means he's free and he's able to join us. Simon Stead, welcome to No Breaks, No Fear.
Thanks, Ian. Thanks for having me on.
Well, thanks for joining us. And there's only one place that we can start, of course, and that's at the Principality Stadium. Saturday night, the British Speedway Grand Prix. Dan Bewley not only got to his first final, he only went and won the whole thing.
Final of the night then. Green light comes on now. Takes her up and we're underway. Bewley's made a great start out of gate number 2. Fires and silk to the front. Draws down the first corner. Smarsling now into second place with Dudek slipping back into third. Madsen didn't make it from the outside gate. Bewley out in front. Looking like a winner from there for me. Absolutely sensational start. You said, Chris, he had a smile on his face. And so it proved. Brilliant stuff from Bewley.
Yeah, he had a smile that oozed with confidence as gate 2 became available. And he has taken this one, the bull by the horns. Look at him go. Making the bike work perfectly. He's leaving Smarslick in his wake.
Absolutely. Out in front, just over a lap to go for Dan Bewley. Smarslick, the championship leader. That's no bad result for him. One last big effort for Bewley down the back straight. Here he comes. Listen to the crowd. Take him home. The winner of the Principality. Dan Bewley.
What a ride. What a ride from that young man. This is a moment he will never forget.
Absolutely right. Stunning performance. Absolutely. Jet propelled away from gate number 2. What a canter. Bartosz Smarslick in second place. Patrick Dudek back in third. But the night belongs to Dan Bewley from Great Britain. He picks up 20 World Championship points, moving on to 64. What a night. And the first British winner in 15 years, Chris. We've had to wait a long time, but by golly, it was worth the wait.
What an incredible evening for Dan Bewley, who did it in front of a galaxy of stars who were assembled to mark the 20th anniversary of the Speedway Grand Prix in Cardiff. People like Tony Ricardson, Jason Crump, Greg Hancock, Chris Harris, of course, the previous winner in 2007 at Cardiff, and now Dan Bewley joins that elite crew of riders who have gone to Cardiff and done it. And, we mustn't forget, Dan has burst onto the scene here in terms of the Grand Prix series. He was in as a wild card because of what happened with Laguta and Saifutinov. Nobody was really expecting, say, big things, but I think we all secretly knew that he had this talent. He's ridden at Cardiff once before. He had one ride in 2018 where he came in for Robert Lambert, I think it was, in one heat as a track reserve and failed to score. But he's very much done the opposite this time round. First full appearance and wins a meeting that riders sometimes spend their whole lives trying to win.
Absolutely incredible. And I think a result like that's been coming for Dan in particular. Such a talent, loves being on a motorbike, whether it's his flat track bike or a speedway bike, on the beach in Maryport, or a trials bike, whenever I see him, he just loves being on two wheels. And I think when conditions are like that, then because of his natural talent and because of the amount of time he spends on a bike, I think he's so relaxed. He's an accomplished motocross rider. Anything two wheels related comes naturally to him. And I think to ride a track like he was presented on Saturday quickly, you have to be relaxed. And I think that's what really gave him the edge on Saturday. And it was great to see, we have waited such a long time for a winner. And I think the stars kind of aligned for him, didn't they? I think if he could have had a choice of gates in the final, I'm not sure whether he would have picked the right one. And I think that being left with gate 2, I think took a little bit of pressure off. And also probably gave him the one that he wanted in the end anyway. So I was so pleased for him, having worked closely with him with everything GB related. But he's such a likeable kid. He still is a kid, isn't he, really? And I'm just genuinely pleased for him because he puts a lot of hard work in. He does come across as this relaxed, sort of chilled out lad, but a lot of hard work goes in behind the scenes. I know he's really upped his game with everything since he's started. He's set up in Poland and taking the step of missing out on British Speedway this year because he genuinely just wanted to broaden his horizons and have some more experience on different racetracks. That's the Swedish league would give him, and absolutely gone about things the right way. Obviously, we were disappointed to lose him from British Speedway this year, but I can certainly see him coming back in the very near future, and he did it for all the right reasons. So to see all this hard work and dedication and what have you go with him and help him achieve that sort of level of success, winning your home Grand Prix, is something, as a former rider, I could have only ever dreamed of. But I can appreciate how special that must have been.
Well, let's hear from the man himself. Speaking to Eurosport after winning the British Grand Prix in Cardiff, here's Dan Bewley.
It's incredible, and it started off pretty good with 2 wins, but I didn't want to get ahead of myself. But I felt good on the track tonight, and the boys did an awesome job on the bike. And going into the final, I knew if I just made a half decent start, I was pretty committed, to do what needed to be done and put ourselves in a good position. And to be honest, it wasn't probably the most impressive race of my life, but it's one I'm going to remember forever. So it's been a pretty crazy night. I've been saying, I think I'm easy fast enough to be here. I've shown that in the qualifying, but win GPs, you have to be a complete package. And tonight I was closer to that. I made some good starts and some smarter decisions on the track. So hopefully I can just build on this. And it's a long season. I'm pretty pumped now, but we'll come back down to earth tonight or maybe Monday morning and get back to work. But for now, I'm going to try and enjoy it tonight. And we get back to work for next GP.
Yeah, I reckon he enjoyed. The last time I saw him was on the dance floor at 1:30 in the morning in Walkabout in Cardiff, and I'm sure he had a great night. Congratulations to Dan Bewley. Simon Stead is with us, our guest this week. Simon, you know Dan pretty well. I think the thing that's really stood out here is how cool he was under pressure, because the whole occasion can faze some riders. We know that, the size of the crowd, the stadium, all the whole everything. Not least as well the perhaps mind games that are going on. Bartosz Szmarszlik, Leon Madsen being very vocal about the track conditions. Dan's just sat there chuckling away to himself and just getting on with it. No problem whatsoever. And then drops the clutch in the final, his first final with Szmarszlik next to him, and no bother whatsoever, and brings it home. Yeah,
I think perhaps he's got a mature head on his shoulders. I think there are a lot of mind games that go on in Grand Prix Speedway, because every little edge or advantage you can get on a competitor is gold at that elite level. So we have seen it before, and sometimes riders can get beat before they've even rode the track. I know it wasn't ideal. It was far from it. The track conditions were difficult, but they were the same for everybody. And in years gone by, we have ridden Cardiff in as bad, if not worse, conditions. The year Bomber won it was very, very similar. And I've ridden it also when it's not been particularly nice to ride, but we have got to remember that these are the best riders in the world. I know it doesn't showcase the best racing when conditions are like that, but the fact that Dan was able to park everything that was going on around him and concentrate on going out and getting a result was testament to the lad, because that takes some doing when there was a lot going on and a lot being said. So look, he thoroughly deserved that. And, I know Robert was desperately disappointed, but he finished off with a really, really good win. And I also think, I can see a final, a top three or even a win coming for Robert very, very soon, because he's matured very quickly as well. He's again doing all the right things. His training, his look and his vision about what he needs to do and how he needs to achieve it. The help that he's got in the pits with Jason Crump. Again, another superb British talent that we're fortunate to have on our books at the moment. Who's destined for big things, and his night will come, I'm sure.
Do you have any update on Ty Woofenden? Because he withdrew from the meeting, unfortunately, and it's always a shame when anybody has to withdraw from a meeting. But Ty, who was so fired up for that event and looking winning it himself, for him to miss out there is a huge shame.
No, I think he's struggling a bit. Ty will do his own press release when the time's right, I'm sure. But Ty's an experienced campaigner now, and he will know his body better than anybody. And I think he was obviously under a lot of pressure to ride Polish League, but the tracks aren't quite like Cardiff over there, and it was maybe just one test too much for his body at this stage. But he'll be doing everything possible to turn things around and get himself fit and ready for the next Grand Prix, because he's it was such a shame because, you know, we saw on the opening day of the Speedway Nations, didn't we, or in our first round, just how good he looks at the minute prior to what happened. So he's desperately disappointed, and I honestly believe he was getting some way back to the Ty Woofenden we know. I know he's had a lot of things going on this season, you know, with engines and tuners and the likes, and making a transition between one or two or whatever he's done isn't easy, and it's taken him a little bit of time to get to speed. But I really thought on that day, wow, you know, we're looking at a Woofy that's back to somewhere near his best. So I hope we can see that again really soon, because Great Britain as a nation are in a really solid position right now with the talent that we've got in the Grand Prix series. Really exciting for me and Ollie to be a part of that, and looking at the conveyor belt of talent that we've got coming through. It takes a lot of hard work, and there's a lot of people doing a lot of hard work behind the scenes to give them that platform. But we are starting to see the rewards, which again is hugely rewarding for us.
Adam Ellis, of course, had a crash in the practice session the day before, and as people will know, he rode that first heat and couldn't hold on to the bike and withdrew after that. Obviously, that has a knock-on effect for you as well on the domestic front with Sheffield, and he's got a broken collarbone. And what's the prognosis there, as far as you know, with Adam? Because it was a real shame. Everybody was pumped to see him. He had the tassels on the Kevlars and everything. It was all set up nicely for him, but it just didn't work out, did it? It was really sad. Really sad.
And I spoke to his mechanic, who's a very, very good friend, one of my best friends, Johnny, who mechanic for me for the majority of my careers. He now works for Adam, so I was in regular contact with them. And he was so disappointed. You know, the first couple of practice runs had gone really, really well. His times had been good in the earlier practice sessions, so things were going really good, and he just got caught out. It's one of those things, but it's such a horrible injury, because it's one of those where, you know, he obviously felt confident enough to give it a go, but and perhaps on another day on another track, then he might have been able to suffer in silence and get himself through the meeting. But on a track like that, it was obviously very, very evident early on that he wasn't going to be able to do that. So again, really disappointed for him, because I also know a lot of hard work that goes on with him and his team. They were really up for it. I felt like this could have been a real springboard for him, and it's just not worked out. But he's still a young man. He's got plenty of time on his side. But I do know he's desperate to sort of take that next level. He was desperate to have get his involvement in the Euros, and he's ridden for GB in a number of events now in the pairs, etc., and has really showcased some talent there. So I know he's desperate to put himself in the mix with the big boys. So he would have seen that as an opportunity on a Cardiff track that I could have seen suit him. So again, young man who's got lots to offer, and let's hope that he gets another shot at it, because he deserves it, and it'd be something that I'd like to see.
A shame for Adam Ellis, but a huge opportunity for Tom Brennan and Leon Flint, because they picked up his rides, and also with Ty Woofenden withdrawing as well later into the meeting, that meant that both the lads got, I think it was 3 rides each. Tom Brennan picked up some points, as did Leon through the course of the meeting, and great experience for those two. And then they carried that on in SGP too as well, because of course with a bit of extra track knowledge. I think that probably helped them both, and both getting a good amount of points through the course of that meeting. And of course, SGP2 was curtailed after 20 heats, so we will never know what ultimately would have happened there. But Leon Flint and Drew Kemp also getting in on the action as well. And this is all great experience for these upcoming rising stars, isn't it, to be performing against the very, very best?
Yeah, I think, what really impressed me about those two boys in particular was how they addressed themselves on the Saturday. Just echoing what you said there, they were against the best riders in the world, and went about their business very, very well in a professional manner. Got on with the job, which was difficult in the conditions, but they grasped that opportunity, and I thought they did themselves proud. I don't know whether it was any benefit for them on the Sunday. I'm sure it was a little bit, but I don't know whether it just meant that they had a sleepless night thinking that they had to go and get on with that again on Sunday. But I think both lads did themselves proud, and it's great to see again. We touched on it earlier, Ian, that the hard work that goes on within the GB setup with the academy days, which we're so fortunate to have, ATPI and Rentruck really getting together with GB Speedway and giving us a platform to help these younger guys, and they've come through the ranks of that with the help of Rory in the early days, and it's really nice for us to see the fruits of our labour, because they obviously got or are still getting a great deal of help from that and the programme that we've got with GB. It's not just bike time, it's meal prep, it's training, it's all the things that go into making an elite level athlete that people like myself and Ollie and that generation of rider didn't have, and we were perhaps a little bit late to the party with that. When you look at how quickly the Poles and the Russians and the other nations have excelled, and we were playing catch up for a little while there, but I feel like we've made ground, if not overtaken a few of them now with recent results. So things are looking good, and Leon and Tom in particular showcased that on Saturday. And like you said, the other guys on Sunday did themselves proud. It was again difficult conditions, but they got in there, muscled in, scored some points, and it will have given them a great taste. I will never forget my first appearance at Cardiff. It is mind-blowing. And again, like you touched on, when you look across your shoulder, and Leon was with Smarslick and the likes. I remember doing the same thing as I was probably 19 or 20. And there was Thomas Golub, Todd Wiltshire. In my first race, I was off gate 4. But those moments you never ever forget, and that's a real taste of things to come for those boys, because if they keep applying themselves well, stay dedicated, keep going about things the right way, keep listening to the support network that they have, keep doing the right things, then the world is their oyster, and that's that global series, that elite level Grand Prix series is where they have to aim, and we will try our best to nurture them and give them the support that they need to get the very best out of them.
And for you, being the Great Britain team manager, it must be tremendous to see this production line of talent coming through. It's, perhaps a number of years ago, we might have been in a situation where we've got one or two riders who are operating right at the top level, but it's hard to see who that next guy would be and where they're going to come from. But now we can see the future a little bit. We can see that we've got 3 or 4 guys coming through now who could be in a number of years, some maybe shorter than others, Grand Prix regulars and following now in Dan Bewley's footsteps. And that sounds crazy considering Dan Bewley's age. He's still, 23 or so. That there are riders behind him who very soon will be looking to follow in Dan's lead.
Yeah, that's right. And that bears well for next year. Obviously move on to a Speedway World Cup rather than the Speedway of Nations. It's a different competition, one that will again showcase the very best riders in the world. And what we have now is enough world-class riders to be able to compete in the World Cup, which I think we've in recent years we've been a little bit light. And that's no disrespect to the riders involved. That was, I probably class myself as one of those, but we just felt a little bit shy of top world-class talent to give, your Ty Woofendens and your Lee Richardsons and the like some real heavyweight backup. And I think when we now look at what we're doing and the format and the riders that we have available to us, we can actually think, we can compete at any level, whether it's Speedway Nations or World Cup, and that's a really nice place to be. And again, stems from a lot of hard work that goes on behind the scenes, and also credit to the lads who have gone about their business and helped improve us as a nation.
Yeah, it is tremendous to see, and I think the British fans can see that production line now. And coming into the Speedway World Cup, of course, selections maybe slightly easier in some respects, but for the riders as well, it's maybe a more achievable aim for them to think, well, look, I can put myself in the frame for the World Cup, because they're going to need more than just the two riders or three as we've had with the Speedway of Nations. There are more opportunities for the guys to get involved and put themselves in the frame, at least in your mind, to be thought about for the Speedway World Cup as well. And such a great track of Wrocław as well. That's really going to, there's Dan Bewley's home track in Poland and Ty Woofendens, so there's two favourites there, of course, already in your mind, I'm sure. But it is a track that so many riders love racing. It's brought us other world champions as well. Gary Havelock, going back over the years, I think he won his world title there. So it's a track that British guys historically go well round.
Yeah, it's such a good racing track, but I think you just touched on it then, Ian, that we are in a great position with two at the least home track riders who have such a vast amount of experience around there, who'll be able to help the other riders involved in that, whoever they might be. The first three on the name sheet pick themselves really in Ty, Dan, and Robert. But like you said there, it's great that these other guys have an opportunity to put themselves in the shop window. I remember my last one that I did in 2014. I was desperate. I knew I was coming towards the back end of my career, but I was desperate to have sort of one last shot at being involved in that setup, and really worked hard on fitness. I was very, very happy being back at Sheffield. I was riding at Leicester as well, and I think the two tracks kind of helped me, because I had a big fast racing track at Sheffield and I had a smaller, tighter track at Leicester, and was enjoying myself at both. Thoroughly enjoyed my season that year. Managed to stay injury free, and that was, like you said, it was a constant thought in my mind. If I can just keep doing what I'm doing, perhaps I might just get that call up. And when it came, it was an honour for me. It was always an honour to pull on the Great Britain race jacket. It's something that I'm immensely proud of, and I had a good semi-final at Kings Lynn. I fell short as the team did in the final in Bydgoszcz that year, but it was a great achievement for me personally, having come back from a nasty injury in 2013. But going back to what you first said, just having that little bit of hope can really help a rider get the best out of himself. So I hope that is the case with a lot of them, because certainly after the first three, there's nothing set in stone, and it would be great to see some riders take that next step and give us a real selection headache.
Well, that's the Speedway World Cup of 2023. A major fixture happening in Glasgow on Saturday, which is going to help decide at least 4 of the riders lining up in the Speedway Grand Prix Series of 2023, taking place at Ashfield this Saturday. Simon Stead will be with us to look ahead to that, and also to look ahead to the Premiership Pairs, which comes to Owlerton Stadium in Sheffield. Sheffield's home round there, therefore, of course, and they're looking to get the win on the board and fire themselves up the table and put themselves in a chance for a showdown at the National Speedway Stadium against Bellevue and the rest of the teams from the Premiership in the Pairs competition. But more about that to come in the next part of No Brakes, No Fear.
This podcast is brought to you by AT&T Fiber with All-Fi. Something tells me that the guy watching sports for 13 hours straight on Sunday, who then stays up watching the recaps of those 13 hours, then calls his friends to talk about it, is definitely going to notice that half-a-second delay.
Get AT&T Fiber with All-Fi and watch sports any time of day from anywhere in your house. Live like a gigillionaire. Limited availability in select areas. Go to att.com/hypergig to check eligibility. Coverage may require extenders at additional charge.
It's the Holiday Friends and Family Sale at JCPenney, and you're invited. Everyone can take home something extra with their 30% off coupon. That's on top of already great savings across the store, like 50% off essentials to deck your halls and home, and up to 40% off Liz Claiborne, perfect for any get-together. Or use your coupon to save an extra 30% store-wide. JCPenney, make your holidays count. Offers valid on select styles. Store-wide coupon ends 12/3. Liz event ends 12/6. Home sale ends 12/17. Exclusions apply. See store or jcp.com for details.
No Brakes, No Fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
Welcome back. I'm Ian Brannan, and our guest this week is Simon Stead, team manager of the Sheffield Tigers and of the Great Britain Speedway team, alongside Ollie Allen, of course, and a rider with much experience too of all levels of Speedway in Great Britain and around the world. And one of the tough meetings that you can find yourself in World Speedway is the Speedway Grand Prix Challenge, which is the meeting where all the riders who've qualified to get to this point are battling it out for what effectively in Speedway terms is the golden ticket. Your chance to be a regular Speedway Grand Prix rider in 2023. This is how it's done, and there are some existing Grand Prix riders in among this lineup looking to cement their place for next year, not least Dan Bewley and Robert Lambert, but many more well-known names as well in this lineup. We'll run through them all very, very soon, but as I say, this is the Speedway equivalent of Willy Wonka's golden ticket, isn't it, Simon?
It really is, and it's an incredibly hard meeting. It's nobody gives an inch. It is the hardest meeting without shadow of a doubt on the calendar. It's brutal. But what we will see at Glasgow is a really, really well prepared track, which will provide fantastic racing, riders in every single heat giving it absolutely everything, because like you said, it's that golden ticket. It's the first way of securing a GP slot, and we've seen it before where if a rider can qualify from that, it does take the pressure off a little bit, and we've seen their GP results improve. So look, the boys will be there giving it their all. Robert raced in the test match for us early in the year. Dan had just had an injury, so was supposed to be or was in the original lineup, but had to pull out, of course. But Robert Lambert that day, some of the moves he made that day were absolutely incredible. So if that's a little taste of what we've got to look forward to on Saturday in Glasgow, then we're in for a real treat. So one that I'm personally really looking forward to. I'll be there with my GB hat on, and really looking forward to that. Giving Dan and Rob a little bit of extra help. So one I'm really looking forward to. I had that, in the calendar really early on, and it's great to see because the Facinas have done such an amazing job with that club. From where it was before they took it on, the investment they've made in the stadium, the team that they're fielding, all the people that are involved in that club love it, and it's great to see the rewards, isn't it? Because you look around, the crowds have increased, the stadium looks $1 million. So it's great to see what some investment and some vision in the right way. Their social media is fantastic. There's lots of things that they're doing right, and they're reaping the rewards for that. So we're in for a real treat on Saturday. So again, one that I'm really looking forward to. One that I know is really important to every single rider that will be turning up that day, all chasing that dream of achieving Grand Prix status for 2023. So we're in for a real treat. So looking forward to that one.
Well, here is the lineup. Oliver Berntsson, Vaclav Milik, Dan Bewley, Max Frick, Anders Levedebs, Rasmus Jensen, David Bellego, Anders Thompson, Simon Wozniak, Chris Holder, Rowan Tungate, Robert Lambert, Jack Holder, Dominic Cabrera, Michael Jepsen Jensen and Kim Nilsson, with track reserves Drew Kemp and Connor Bailey. 4 of those guys will make it through to the Speedway Grand Prix Series of 2023. Regular riders lining up in every round and really making their name on the world stage. Some riders there that have certainly got experience of the Glasgow circuit, not least, of course, Dan Bewley and Rasmus Jensen, another one that leaps out. We know Chris Holder can go well around there. Robert Lambert certainly knows his way around that track. Probably Max Frick as well. He used to ride for Edinburgh, didn't he? So he'll know that fairly well. So the stage is nicely set, and pick 4 from there.
You could go down that list and make an argument for every single one of them to be right up there at the business end of the meeting. So Jack's obviously hit a rich vein of form. We saw him win gold with Australia at the Speedway of Nations. He had a fabulous couple of days there. Really rode well and got his reward for that. And we obviously saw that form carry on into the British Grand Prix, where I thought he was desperately unlucky not to qualify for the final. He probably looked like Dan Bewley's probably biggest headache for that meeting up until Madsen got away with a flyer in the semi. So he was really unlucky to not make the final. Then I think he was obviously disappointed about that. But it's great to see him, with my Sheffield hat on. It's great to see him with such a in such a rich vein of form at the moment, and he'll be looking at going out and doing the business at Glasgow, that's for sure, because there's certainly none of the riders no GP rider, unless you do qualify for it for next season by right. There's no guarantees when it comes to wild cards. So Chris back in there, you wouldn't put it past him. On his day, still one of the very, very best riders in the world. He wouldn't be turning up there just to make up numbers. If he's going and making the effort to be involved in the meeting, then he obviously wants to get back involved in the Grand Prix series, and that's dangerous for anybody. So just a great looking lineup, and having been involved in those meetings before, I know every rider will be absolutely desperate to make that top 3, which makes it really, really interesting. The lineup's superb, so we're in for a cracker.
Well, if you can get yourself there in person, you're in for a treat. As Simon mentioned, Glasgow's Ashfield Stadium gets underway at 7 o'clock. There is a live stream running for that as well, available from the Glasgow Tigers website. But a stellar lineup there, all battling out for the ultimate ticket for next year's Speedway Grand Prix Series. Looking into the domestic situation now, and with your Sheffield Tigers team manager's hat on, Simon, next up for you, it's the Premiership Pairs, which is on Thursday. That's Thursday the 18th of August at Owlerton Stadium. So your home round. Been a frustrating one really for you. You've had 3 second places so far for Sheffield, and then failing to score any league points as far as the Premiership Pairs league table's concerned at Wolves. But looking to put that right with your home advantage, surely you're going to be fancying your chances there and looking to make it an interesting one at the big final at Bellevue, because currently Ipswich are starting to threaten to run away with it.
It's a difficult one with the Pairs. I've been sort of, not disappointed, it's a wrong word. I've been left feeling like niggled by it, because I feel like we've probably been riding well enough in the majority of the rounds to have more points on the board. You know, we've missed out, one too many times now in the final. We could be sat there quite comfortably like Ipswich are, but the difference in points between winning it and second is too great in my opinion. If you've made the final, I think there ought to be more reward. I'm not just saying this because of where Sheffield are sat at the moment. I just think, to make it a better spectacle and to keep the interest, then perhaps there should be a reward for the teams that make the final. Not just the winner really. But you're right, it is a chance for us to get some much needed points on the board. If we can win it on Thursday, it makes the final leg in Bellevue really, really interesting. I really hope that the Sheffield public buy into this concept and get behind us, because like I said, having been involved in the previous rounds, going around with the boys, it's provided some really, really good racing. I love the idea of it. I think it needs a little bit of fine tuning, but the concept of it is very, very good and has provided us with some really, really good racing. So naturally, I hope that we get a big crowd in. It always helps if we can get a big crowd to get behind our name too, and really try and give us that extra boost to try and tie down our first victory of the series, which has seemed like a long time coming. And I think we're due a bit of good luck, and it would be nice to get that on home soil.
Yeah, you see, in the first round at Peterborough, I gave you 10 points for finishing second, and it was only after the meeting, because I was commentating on it. It was only after the meeting I realised it was 8. I was like, whoops. And maybe, but yeah. It is a big. You're right. It is a big drop from 12 points for winning the meeting and then 8 for coming second. Maybe that 10 points or something like that, and just go, because I just thought it was. I think maybe it was. I'd seen something 12, 10, 8. 6, 4 or whatever, and yeah, it does. I don't know. I get what you're saying. Definitely, I know what you mean.
I much prefer your scoring in than the one that we're actually settled with. So it'd be interesting to see if
this is the kind of scoring I invented.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how we'd sit if that was the case, but it's not. But like I said, I don't think it's quite the finished article, but there are so many positives around it. I think it's great that there are some extra fixtures on the board. I think it's something for the fans to get their teeth into. It's rather than it just being the traditional one-day event, which was always a great event, don't get me wrong, but I think to spread it out over the course of a season and go to every single track is a fair way of finding an eventual winner. And like I said, if results goes a certain way on Thursday, then it will see it go down to the final one at Bellevue, which I think would be pretty good.
You'd have 6 more points on the board if you use my scoring system. So that would put you 8 points behind. See, so that would be a bit closer, wouldn't it?
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Let's go with that. The lineups are not confirmed as far as I know across all of the teams yet. I know there's a little bit of TBC about it, about who's able to ride and with injuries coming in now and things like that. But as far as Sheffield goes, who are you tracking?
Well, it's obviously that it would have been quite easy in Jack and Adam, but obviously with the injury to Adam, we've got to sort of go down a different avenue, and I think that is again the beauty about this competition. Being able to name 2 out of your top 4, I think is great, because as a team manager, you are able to use horses for courses and to have a little bit more input than perhaps you do on a normal race day. Trying to get the best out of the boys and trying to get the best out of the riders available to you. So I have enjoyed that aspect of the competition. And look, it just remains to be seen what the other guys feel. So Ipswich will be aware that they can make life a little bit easier for themselves if they have another successful evening. So I expect them to field a strong team again. You know, when they've got the likes of Jason Doyle at their disposal, you're in for a difficult evening, but he can't win it on his own. So it all adds to the prospect of a great evening, which I'm really looking forward to.
And how have you found one of the things about this tournament is you can switch the gate positions over, can't you? Fairly short notice sometimes, and put your reserve in where you see fit as well. It, in theory, gives you a bit more control over things, and you can sort of spice things up and move a rider from an inside gate to an outside gate at the drop of a hat, and maybe throw a cat among the pigeons. How's that works out for you?
Again, I think I quite like that. Part of being a team manager and having that relationship with your riders is half of the fun for me. I think it's pretty good. I have a good working relationship with all of our boys. So we do what's right to get the most amount of points on the board, and it's quite easy to be for a rider to be selfish and go off the best gate every time, or the best gate for them every time, which is not necessarily right for the team. So I've got to give my lads, I can't speak for any of the other team managers, but I'm going to give my lads credit where that's due, because they will do whatever it takes to get the most amount of points on the board for the team and work together to achieve the goal of winning it. Like I said, we've fallen short, unfortunately, in a few of them, but the best is yet to come. And like I said, it'd be a great time on Thursday to get our first win on the board, and that's certainly what we'll be going for.
Absolutely. And Sheffield as a whole, of course, you've got a few matches in hand on the teams above you in the league. You're through to the League Cup final, of course, from earlier in the season as well, which is yet to be organised against Kings Lynn. So there's potential silverware there as well. And a change to your team lineup from the last time that you raced as well, because Craig Cook has departed the side. Louis Kerr has come into the side. Of course, we were talking about him just a week ago, leaving Kings Lynn, and you moved very quickly there.
Really like Louis. Is an absolute professional. Keeps himself in very, very good shape. Has excellent equipment. So I've worked with him closely within the GB structure over the course of the last 2-3 years, whatever it's been. And I could recognise that he was in need of a change. I think he'd become a little bit stale at Kings Lynn, and having had the initial conversation with him, I could hear in his voice that not a weight had been lifted, but I think he was stuck in a rut. Kings Lynn getting rid of him had perhaps done him a favour, and he could concentrate on just getting himself back up to form. We've seen his red car results improve over the course of the last few weeks, and I recognised somebody that was on a very attractive average, who I thought could do a better job than his average suggested. And somebody who was desperate for another opportunity or a chance at Premiership level to show what he's really capable of. So it was a change that we felt we needed to make. There's obviously a question mark about Craig's fitness at the moment, which is a concern when we only scored 4 points from Craig's programmed RR rides against Kings Lynn last Thursday, or our last home meeting. So that really brought it home to us that RR wasn't really an option. So the fact that there was such a good opportunity available in Louis made it a bit of a no-brainer. Look, I'm super disappointed that it hasn't worked out for Craig. Very, very talented rider. I was enjoying working with him. It was just frustrating that I couldn't help him get on to greater things again, because we've seen what sort of things he's capable of, and that was what we were really holding on to, that he could turn that corner and we would see the very best out of Craig again. But unfortunately we just ran out of time, and obviously his latest injury setback didn't help matters. So important for us to look after the club and put the club first. And when there's an opportunity like there was presented to us, then it would have been silly for us not to at least explore the option. And after the discussion, like I said, I had with Louis, then I believe we've made the right move for the club, and gives us a little bit more strength. Obviously, we'll wait to see what happens with the next averages, and perhaps we'll have to do a little bit of a shuffle around with the team if Seji comes into the main body and Louis drops to reserve. We'll have to see how that pans out, but I think it gives us a little bit more strength in depth. He rides Wolverhampton well. He obviously rides Kings Lynn well on his day. Rides Ipswich well. These are all places that we're going to have to revisit. You said just before about the cup competition at Kings Lynn. That makes it pretty mouth-watering. I know that Louis will be desperate to get his teeth into that one and show what he's got. So I think it just gives us a little bit more strength in depth and a little bit more firepower. But obviously, saying that, it's a little bit of a heavy heart, and we obviously wish Craig the best for a speedy recovery, and also that we get to see him back to something like his best for Glasgow very soon, because we all know what he's capable of on his day. Is it one of the harder parts of being a team manager, where you've got to impart this news to a rider that you've put your full trust in, and it doesn't work out? Of course, at this point in the season particularly, we've seen changes all over the place, really, not just in this country but abroad as well. Riders coming and going largely through injury or whatever has come along that's affected their performances. Your hand's kind of forced, really, isn't it? Because ultimately you've got to look after the results and the hope of the club and the spectators. I think it's a business, Ian, and in business, if you've got something that isn't performing or halting or slowing down your progress, then you would look at changing something within that business structure. And I think it was something that I struggled with earlier on, and I was a little bit uncomfortable with it because, I've been pals or, certainly colleagues of a lot of these lads. So I found that a little bit difficult, but actually the reality of it is just business, and 99.9% of the time they're almost expecting that telephone call. Craig, I've got to say, was really, really good in that last telephone conversation between us. Knew he'd not been at his best, was disappointed with himself, and was apologetic that he'd not been able to do what he thought he was capable of. So he wished us well as we wish him well. But it is just part and parcel of the job of being a team manager. Teams change, averages change, and sometimes you have an opportunity to improve the team. And if I feel like we've got that opportunity, Ian, then we would be silly not to take advantage of an opportunity when it presents itself, because we learned the hard way a little bit last year when I felt Troy was about to turn a corner, and every meeting I felt like it was going to be the one that was going to be the one that kick-started his season, and that meeting never came along, and obviously Troy was disappointed, I was disappointed that didn't quite work out. But if you leave it too long, then sometimes that opportunity's passed, and we've struck while the iron's hot. We've made a couple of changes this year. Obviously, we released Stefan to bring in first Jake and then Seji. It was unfortunate for Stefan because he'd been a good asset for Sheffield in 2021. Just not quite being able to get that form back, which was disappointing for all of us. And he kept having a couple of knocks. So there are opportunities that present themselves, and you've got to take those if you feel it's the right move. And we will only do it if we feel it's the right move, of course. But it's one of those things. It's never an easy conversation to have with the rider, but often they know that they've not been performing as well as they should do, and are often expecting that call, in my experience.
And we don't know yet how long the recovery is going to be, and Adam's situation, or maybe you do know more, but obviously the accident that Adam had at the Grand Prix, that's you've sorted one problem out, and now you're left with another issue potentially certainly for the short term, that you've got to manage that as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a great situation to be in, but at the moment, the way that the averages are, we have got good cover for Adam, so it's a little bit different to where we were running RR for Craig. So the problem isn't quite as bad as it was with Craig. So we're waiting to hear from Adam. I've been in touch with him today. He's obviously disappointed. He's going to be out for certainly a short amount of time. How long that is going to be, we are waiting for an MRI scan, which he's hoping to get done fairly soon. He wasn't able to go to the clinic today, but he's making progress with that, and will keep us in the loop. Not an easy one to manage, but I suppose when we get more news from Adam and get some indication on the length of time that he's going to be out, then perhaps at that point we will need to look at our options, if there are any.
Simon Stead, Sheffield team manager, with us on this week's No Breaks, No Fear. And one of his new signings was victorious last Friday in the Championship Pairs. Lewis Kerr, alongside Charles Wright, representing the Redcar Bears, won the meeting in a grand final contested against the Pool Pirates. We'll talk more about that, and we'll hear from Louis and Charles in just a moment here on No Breaks, No Fear.
Jake Knapp is the inventor of the Design Sprint and the New York Times bestselling author of the book Sprint. He's also the co-founder of Character, a venture fund for early-stage startups. How and why did you start using Miro?
I came from this position of thinking, I don't want to be doing stuff online, to thinking now when I do a sprint in person with a company, it's like, we're going to use Miro, even though we're all in the same room, because that's a better way for us to get this work done. As an investor, we're basically investing in their ability to solve problems. We're saying, we think this group of people is going to be able to solve a problem in a really great way and create value by doing it. And actually, you need to give people the tools that can help them make decisions, help them collaborate, help them visualize and see things in a different way. And Miro does all those things. So to me, at least as an investor, I'm thinking, give the team the tools that are going to help them think, that are going to make the most, brighten their skills as smart folks. And Miro is at the top of that list.
No brakes, no fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
I'm Ian Brannan. Our guest this week is Simon Stead, and we're going to talk now about an event where Simon's newest signing, Louis Kerr, was involved with his championship club, the Redcar Bears, and won some silverware as well at the Championship Pairs competition, which was held at Oxford. Of course, the event that's always been previously held at Somerset for the last number of years until pre-pandemic, and warm-up event for the Grand Prix weekend, but this time now held at Oxford. And what a great evening it was as well. A big crowd turning out, getting in the mood for the weekend ahead, and it ultimately came down to the Redcar Bears versus the Poole Pirates. Steve Worrell suffering disaster on the start line as the tapes rose, his cutout came out, and that left the Redcar Bears with no other option than just to race for the final 4 laps and bring home the trophy, and that they did as well. But to be fair to Redcar, they only dropped a couple of points all night, really, and they had previously beaten the Poole Pirates, both of them, Steve Worrell and Danny King in Heat 20, which was just a few before. So they'd performed on the night. They'd certainly beaten their opposition twice, and they won the trophy. And speaking on British Speedway Network after that, we can hear from Louis Kerr and Charles Wright.
Oh, I'm ecstatic. It's the first proper thing I've won, I think. So I'm well chuffed. I'm buzzing, yeah. And we done Poole both times in the qualifiers as well. So happy days.
Happy days, Charles. Right, I'm sure
it's one of those. It's almost anticlimactic for us watching because Stevie stopped on the start-finish line, but you didn't know that for a couple of laps.
No, I was railing the dirt for 3 laps, thinking, and I only realised last lap, and I thought I best come in a bit now. But no, it was great. We knew where each other were. I stuck it wide where I like it, and Louis liked the curbs. So it was brilliant. We worked together as a team, and that's what won it for us.
Charles Wright and Louis Kerr speaking with Lee Kilby and Hayley Bromley from British Speedway Network. A great evening for the Redcar Bears. They were partying long into the night, many of them heading straight from there into Cardiff, and start of a great weekend for them. And for you as well, Simon, your newest signing, Louis Kerr, getting what he describes as the first proper thing he's won.
Yeah, let's hope we can add to that total with Sheffield. So, I was really pleased for him, having been obviously in close dialogue with him over the course of that last week. It was great to see him have such a good meeting. He's riding very well at the moment, and success breeds success. When you're riding well, when you're winning things, when you're winning races, I think your confidence grows, and I think we're getting Louis at a very good time now because things are going the right way for him. He's obviously a confident lad and riding very well. So it was great to see that he got a good result on Friday. But what's also great for me is seeing the return of Speedway to Oxford. I know we're going a little bit off topic here, Ian, but that's been absolutely fantastic for me. There's nothing worse than seeing another Speedway club fold, and we see it all too often, unfortunately. And perhaps maybe not quite enough is made over a club that's resurrected itself and has been brought back from really the dead. So fair play to everybody that's been involved and is involved at Oxford, because that's just really been a fantastic transition. The stadium was obviously all the volunteers out there clearing the stadium and bringing it back to its former glories is just great to see. And I just sit here with my fingers crossed now that we can see something similar happen at Swindon, and they can get that local rivalry going. A club can thrive on that local rivalry. A big crowd on a bank holiday weekend or whatever. That would be great to see again. So perhaps with crowd levels like they are at the moment, they might be wanting to move up a level and have top flight speedway at Oxford. There would be a great addition to top flight speedway. And if we keep our fingers crossed and something happens at Swindon, then again we could be up to a much more comfortable number in the top flight, which would be great. The only problem we would have then is obviously rider availability, which causes all the headache. But perhaps there's something that could be done with that, and we can see a few more riders back in the top flight of British Speedway, and that would be great. But yeah, just went off topic a little bit there, but just so good to see Oxford back. Some happy memories from my riding days of racing around Oxford. So a great big pat on the back to everybody involved with that, because that was a real effort and something that they can be immensely proud of.
They've done a tremendous job, and it's a good night as well. Like the entertainment, the meeting flows well. They've got good presentation. They've got a good crowd. I think I've been there 3 times this season, and every time they've had a solid crowd. They let all the fans in early, I think from about 5:30, and you go into the pits and mill around with the riders as they're getting their stuff set up, and a bit more access than some clubs have. And I think that bond between the fans knowing they can get in and they can have their photos, they can sit on the riders' bikes sometimes as well and just chat with them. The fans feel close to the riders, I've noticed, at Oxford. And I think you can tell they've really thought about, if you're starting from scratch with the club, what would you do? And I think there's certainly, that's probably what you would do. It's loads of places to get something to eat and drink. Not like at the Principality Stadium on Saturday where you were queuing for 40 minutes to get a drink. There's loads of places to get served, and it makes for a nice atmosphere and certainly a family atmosphere. Everybody seems really happy, and it all just seems to just fall into place. They've done a great job, really have.
Yeah, that's really good to hear. I've not got there this season yet, Ian, but it's certainly on my radar and somewhere I'd like to go again, because, like I said, I've got such fond memories of being there as a rider. So it'd be great to see what they've actually done with the place. And I think you can only really grasp that by going and getting involved. And like you said, if the atmosphere is great, it always helps when there's a big, strong crowd. So really happy that that's back, and let's hope that that they're in a really good place and that we can see them perhaps join us in the top flight race soon. But yeah, well done, Louis and Charles.
Well done, Louis and Charles. Another note on the championship, they've got a poll running at the moment about whether to bring back the aggregate point in the league there, seeing what fans think of that. What do you think about that? I think a lot of people seem to be in favour of that. I've always thought it was a good thing. It gives you something extra, isn't it? Just to add something extra to the fixture. It gives you an extra reason to get, every point matters at the end of the day as well. So it's not just all about having a regulation win and getting away with it. All those points, and really incentive certainly for the home side at each leg of those ties through the course of the season.
Yeah, I think it simplifies it a little bit as well, which is better for new fans. I think it keeps it interesting. I think sometimes when a meeting is getting away from you, I'm speaking as a team manager now, and you're trying to identify where to use a tactical substitute, perhaps, and you can actually think that the meeting's gone. You've lost it. Is there actually any reason to do it? But I think when you're trying to maximise what you can get from every single heat, even if the meeting is past winning, then I think when you're trying to just get as many points as you can on the board over the course of the 2 legs, then it does keep the interest. So I think I would be in favour of that. I think that was what I was always used to when I was riding at that level, certainly in my younger days, with the likes of Peterborough and Sheffield and stuff, and we were notorious for wanting to get a 61-29 or whatever it was going to be. We were a real powerhouse at Sheffield. So and your Exeters and stuff, who they certainly weren't. They weren't shy of a big home win either. So I think it would be a good thing. But what I do like is that they've involved the supporters and want their opinion. Ultimately, they're the ones that see the sport from the outside, and it's nice for them to have a voice. So let's hope they get what they want.
And Birmingham already announcing that they're running next season as well, which I think is a huge statement, and it's put them already, from what I gather, in a real strong position for signing riders. And tell us about this. If you are a rider and a club is the first to declare next season we're everything's in place, we can start signing riders or having the conversations. And I'm guessing that to get yourself fixed up nice and early and have a deal in place must be a weight off your mind, I suppose, for the next year, if you can get a decent deal and you're happy with it.
Yeah, I'm really pleased about that, because there's been a little bit of uncertainty around that club for a couple of seasons now, prior to the new management team getting involved. So that's great to see that their intentions are there. I think seeing a little bit more stability around the place will attract riders naturally. And they can start on their team building really early. So I certainly, I think that will help them put a more competitive team out than they perhaps had this year. I've been in that sort of position when, I can't remember what year it was, but I was at Sheffield second time round, and it was when Neil Machin was just selling the club and the Bateses were buying it. And that all... I committed to Sheffield anyway, but the actual purchase took longer than we'd imagined, and we were left to try and put a competitive team together quite late, and that was difficult. So I think Birmingham suffered a little bit from that this year, but. Fingers crossed. Look, a more competitive league, a more competitive teams is only good for the league. I think the Championship is a great league with some very, very good riders in, lots of competition. So I think Birmingham's commitment to that early on can only be a good thing. So fair play to them. That's good.
And of course, Birmingham this week hosting a challenge meeting with a Coventry select side as well. Chris Harris is going to be one of those donning the famous Fighting B once again, and that'll be this Wednesday. And that was a meeting that should have happened earlier in the year, but another team there, Coventry, that we'd love to see back properly at some point, of course.
Yeah, I love that from Birmingham. Actually, I know it's supposed to be on earlier in the year, but it's easy to sort of get to the end of your domestic campaign, and if it's not quite been the season you wanted, to sort of shut up shop and start making plans for the following season. But the fact that they're trying to prolong their season and bring in a fixture like that is very, very good, proactive from them. Hopefully they'll get a big crowd. The Coventry faithful will turn out in good numbers, I hope. It would be nice to see them really supporting that fixture, because I know there's still so much to fight for Coventry Speedway. somewhere that, you know, I only had 1 year there, but, you know, really loved it. Always enjoyed going to Brandon. Loved the track, loved the stadium. And again, that's one of those that's still there. And I think when we go back to the Oxford thing, you can live in hope, can't you? And whilst ever there's people like Jeff and the likes involved in their campaign to save the Speedway and the stocks there, then there's still hope. And it's such a crying shame that it's been left in that position for so long. It's unbelievable, really, isn't it? So yeah, let's keep our fingers crossed for a really big crowd at Birmingham. No doubt that would help ease the pain of a difficult first season for the management there, and also show that there's still a real following for Speedway in Coventry as well.
Yeah, a good lineup for this as well. So if you are in the area, get yourself down there. Birmingham's team will be Tom Brennan, Simon Lambert, James Wright, Brock Nicol, Justin Sedgman, Lee Complin and James Pearson. And for the Coventry Bees, it will be Chris Harris, Adam Roynan, Connor Mountain, Joe Thompson, Hans Anderson, Luke Krang and Freddie Hodder. So that's the meeting taking place on Wednesday, today, if you're listening on the date of release of this. This might be in the past by the time you listen to it, but it gets underway 7:30 on Wednesday. Let's have a look through some of the other fixtures then. Oxford versus Edinburgh. Big one that for Edinburgh to cement their place in the Championship playoff positions. And Poole taking on Redcar, which similarly for Redcar, that's important for them to get into the playoff positions, and also for Poole to try and close in on second spots and keep the pressure up on Glasgow. So there's a lot going on there, and that meeting is going to be on British Speedway Network on Wednesday evening. Thursday, also on BSN, will be the Premiership Pairs Round 5 at Sheffield's Owlerton Stadium at 7:30. Friday, Edinburgh versus Redcar in the Knockout Cup semi-final. Scunthorpe versus Berwick in the Championship. A big one that, I suppose, for Scunthorpe to try and get into the playoffs. I think Berwick can still mathematically do it but they need max points. Maybe very slim chance, but I think it is in theory doable. Bellevue versus Leicester in the National League. On Saturday, a couple of big fixtures. We've already talked about the GP Qualification Challenge, which happens at 7 o'clock at Ashfield. At the same time, in Leicester, another big meeting. National League Pairs is going to be happening at the Paul Chapman and Sons Arena. And another opportunity for the National League sides to aim for some silverware. Mixture of youth and experience. So I usually say there's sort of young lads in the National League, and you sort of think that it's up and comers, but there's experienced hands in the National League these days, and always has been, I think, for a while. But a good mix of youth and experience, but silverware on the line nonetheless.
I've never minded that, Ian. I think for the younger lads to rub shoulders with older lads who are still involved and riding at that level, I don't think rubbing shoulders with lads that have got some experience does them any harm whatsoever. Speaking from experience, when me, Ollie, and David Howe and Bomber were doing the Conference League, we were up against people like your Steve Bishops, your Lobb brothers. Jeff Powell. So there were experienced campaigners in the league at that time, and actually, they were the guys that I really, really wanted to beat. So, I don't think it's a bad thing to have more experienced riders in at that level, because I think actually what it does for the riders that were riding with them is helps. With a knowledgeable, experienced campaigner in their side, and I think what that does is, as a rider who's riding against them, it gives them some focus and someone with a bit of a target on their back. That if you're if you've come away having lowered their colours, you've been going pretty well. So I'm all for that, really.
And similarly as well, let's take Adam Roynan as a case in point. He wasn't riding enough. He was just saying, I just need more laps. I need more experience. And now he's getting that because he's racing with the Plymouth Centurions, and you can see that his championship results are improving as well. He did really well in the pairs too on Friday night just gone.
Yeah, I've seen that. And look, Adam's one of those riders that he's such a talented lad on a bike. I honestly expected him to go and hit heights that unfortunately he's not been able to. But he's been super unfortunate in with his injuries and the like. So the fact that he feels better, that he's getting some time on a bike again and winning races. We said whatever level you're riding at, Ian, if you're winning races and you've got a smile on your face, then the next race, whatever, if you've been winning races at Conference League level and you're going into a championship fixture with a smile on your face, then I honestly believe that can help you score more points at that level as well. So good to hear that he's managing to find some form again, because certainly a lad with a lot of talent who loves Speedway, and it's good to see him get some points on the board.
On the subject of the National League, there's more on Sunday. Kent versus Mildenhall gets underway at 12 noon, and Redcar versus Glasgow. A key one there. Glasgow need to keep the pressure up to get second place and automatic qualification for the semi-finals in the Championship. Redcar need the points to secure their position in the playoffs. 7:30 the start time. You can watch that also on the British Speedway network on Sunday evening. Looking ahead to Monday, back to Premiership action. The fixture, which will be live on Eurosport 2 and Discovery Plus, will be Kings Lynn versus Bellevue, starting at 7:30. Meanwhile, at Monmore, it's Wolves versus Sheffield. Mixed results for Sheffield at Monmore. It wasn't an easy trip for you for the last time, but you have had success there earlier in the season. But as far as Sheffield are concerned, you have got these meetings in hand, and really looking to make that move up the table with some points at Wolves if you can achieve it, because Wolves, as we know, are going to be under strength this time round without Sam Masters.
Well, I think we'll need to see a better side this time than we saw last time. We were there. We didn't perform very well, but when we were there early in the year, then we had a pretty good meeting. So we've been a little bit too inconsistent away from home, Ian. So that's been disappointing. But I think we are coming to the business end of this season. We are fortunate that we've got a run of fixtures that lends itself well to getting that track time that we've been speaking about this evening, and hopefully we'll get on a bit of a run. It's always a tough place to go. They've got a very good team. They are, I guess they'll still be without Sam, which might help even things up for us a little bit. But Pete's a great team manager, gets the best out of his lads, knows every trick in the book, and it will be a difficult night for us. But we have riders that go very well there. Toby was unbelievable when we were there early in the year, so looking forward to seeing him round there. Obviously, Louis is going to have his debut for the club, and we wanting to start with a good meeting. Kyle, I felt, rode really well when he guested for Kings Lynn, and he rode at number 1, so he had a good meeting there. So all to play for. We'll go there and go about our business the way that we try to do every time we'll be going out for the win. So we know it will be difficult, but I think we're into August now. It would be nice to start stamping a little bit of authority, and like you said, making the most out of those fixtures that we have in hand. So we'll see what we can do.
I imagine the exciting thing is that it's in your hands. That if you get points wherever you go, then nobody's going to be able to stop Sheffield getting to the top of the Premiership at this stage of the season. But of course, ultimately, it comes down to the playoffs, doesn't it? You know, those one-off meetings, and that's where trophies are won and lost.
Yeah, I think the other Thursday at home against Kings Lynn was a really important fixture. I know they took a point away from it, but it was more important for us to get the win. And the fact that we managed to do that took a little bit of pressure off, because certainly had that result have gone differently, we would be in a different position going into these fixtures that we've got in hand. But look, at Sheffield, we're really fortunate that we have a great group of travelling fans, followers up and down the country. The Tigers on tour, they're an amazing group of fans that follow us everywhere. So that doesn't go unnoticed. So we'll be hoping to give them something to shout about on Monday.
And that's the fixtures for Monday, just the two in the Premiership. And then on Tuesday next week in the Championship, another big one for Glasgow and Plymouth as they meet at the Coliseum. That's a rearrangement of a previous rain-off, that one. But that gets underway at 7 o'clock. Another fixture which will be live on BSN as well. You're certainly getting your value for money there. Tell that to my car. But don't worry about the mileometer. We'll be back next Wednesday with another episode where we will be looking ahead to the Championship League Riders Individual Final, which is going to be taking place at Poole Stadium. So that's going to be a big one, and we'll have someone from the Poole Pirates joining us next Wednesday to get you in the mood for that, and we'll look ahead to everything that's going to be coming up over the next 7 days. Then have a great week in Speedway. Thanks for joining us, and thanks to Simon Stead for being with us today as well. Great to speak with you, Steady, and all the best for the Pairs, of course, this Thursday, hosting that, and for the remainder of the Sheffield Tigers season.
Thanks, Ian. It's been a pleasure, mate. Thank you.
And thanks to you for joining us as well. Don't forget, leave us a review, leave us a rating. It always helps a little bit for other people to think, yeah, this is a good thing to listen to, and just share the podcast with your friends. That's the best way to get the word around. And if you'd like to check out something else, then my other series, which is called Humans of Speedway, is also available on all good and bad podcast platforms. So search for that and hear all about the life stories, really, and career highlights of some well-known names from the sport. Have a great week. We'll catch you next week here on No Brakes, No Fear.
No Brakes, No Fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
Did you miss your deadline to renew your Medicaid coverage? You can still send your completed annual review form to Healthy Connections Medicaid. You may be assigned to another health plan, but you can ask to come back to First Choice within 60 days of renewed Medicaid eligibility. It's your family. It's your choice. First Choice is the right choice. Renew and choose us. Visit selecthealthofsc.com/renew to learn more.